Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And today, our guest is Kristy Nakamura. She is a top producing realtor and team leader of your Oahu home team with EXP based in Hawaii. Proud wife and mom, Kristy brings a deeply personal understanding of what it means to put down roots, especially in Hawaii's unique military-heavy market. She's personally used her VA loan benefit several times to purchase her own homes, several of which she now holds as rentals, giving her firsthand experience with VA financing, investment properties, and long-term wealth creation through real estate. With years of experience guiding buyers, sellers, and military families across Oahu, Kristy has built her business on relationships, education, and relentless client advocacy, blending high-level marketing, technology, and local expertise to deliver standout results. Outside of real estate, you'll find her hiking Oahu's trails, paddleboarding, spending time with her family, and mentoring agents on her team. She's very passionate about serving the Oahu community she calls home. Kristy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, DJ Paris. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
And give us the best social for people to follow you.
Yes, so Instagram, your Oahu home team. We're there. Facebook, Kristy Nakamura. And yes, love to have you follow. Thanks.
We will have links to those in our show notes. Okay, I want to jump right into this because you've used your own VA loan benefit several times, which I love.
Yes.
Multiple times, to buy your own homes, and you still hold several of these as rentals. Great job. Most agents talk about niches like VA as a marketing strategy, but you actually live it. So walk me through the first time you used your VA benefit. Like, what did you learn from being the buyer that you couldn't have learned any other way?
That's a great question because that actually started kind of my interest in real estate. So I was married previously. Husband was in the Air Force. We were so young. So left Kansas at, I think it was 23, moved to Florida. And that was during '08 when everything was insane, right? So got stationed and we bought sight unseen. We used a friend that her mom as the realtor. That was not a good experience. Please always really vet your realtors. So we bought it short sale for our first house. So the lady had bought it for like 300. Market was nuts. So we got it for like 153. Didn't understand the inspection period, like everything that we shoulda, coulda, woulda asked for if we would have had that great education piece on it. So bought it sight unseen, went in, and then we needed all new appliances. We needed a new AC. And at 23, we're like, whew, okay, this was like a lot, right? Had a new baby. But it was a great experience. And then when we went to sell, we interviewed a ton of agents. And I finally met one guy. He was big on marketing. He explained, like, I'm using these glossy flyers. I'm going to put it here, here, and here. I'm not just going to stick it on the MLS. And we were kind of sticky about commission, right? Because he was asking a lot higher than everybody else. And I said, you know what? We're going to go with you, but I need you to show me what you're doing every step of the way because I want to learn what you're doing.
And he brilliant.
So that was kind of the introduction to marketing, how to stand out. And hey, he was great. He got it sold. We were only on market for like 2 weeks. It all worked out. And that was my beginning into really learning about real estate.
And then you're like, I can do this. And
I can do this.
Here you are.
Yeah.
Boy, that is such a, I've interviewed hundreds of top producers all across the country. No one has ever had that particular origin story. I love that. Wow. What a brilliant idea. I always love that too. It's like, you can do this with people in any industry, right? You weren't in real estate when you did this, and you said, okay, I'll pay the fee, but you're going to help me along the way. And he did. And boy, that's incredible. Okay. So you've said the worst advice you ever received was to chase every shiny new lead source, which I can relate to that. Obviously our listeners can relate to that, but instead of doubling down on what everybody knows they should be doing, which is your existing database, right?
Yes.
So that's the advice every coach, every brokerage, every vendor in our industry really gives the opposite of, right? So what's the moment you realize that advice was wrong for your business?
So we were looking at, at the end of the year, everybody's always like, look at your ROI, look at your top lead sources, look at your top closed. And every time we would go, and I'm like, okay, I paid the big Z X amount of dollars. I only closed X amount of dollars. My money is like, we're working it, but it's not like exponential growth, right? And then a lot of times those buyers, they're headaches. Like they don't necessarily drive with you. They have unrealistic expectations, and you're trying to meet them where they are, because at the end of the day, we're the professionals. We have to, meet their needs and perform for them. But when we look at like where our time and energy and money go, whenever it's referral based and it's either past clients, somebody in our sphere, our emotional output is like nothing, right? It's like we're excited to go show you. We want to be on the phone with you. We want to really, really like dig in deep and teach you everything that we can for the first time. So when you go to buy your upsized house, like we have a different set of questions and answers, and we're guiding you for wealth generation instead of like, let's just get you in your first home. So when we looked at this, and I'm like, our referrals, like we get to go out to dinner with people that we already
Right.
know, like, and
People
want to
you
be
like.
with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are we not taking more time to really dig into these relationships and not be transactional at all? Because that doesn't fit me or my husband's personality. Like we love the people, right? We want to be with them. We don't want to just turn and burn and close one deal and then just go off to the next kind of situation. So when we really honed in to that, that's where we really started seeing growth, connecting with other EXP agents and saying, hey, we're always open to referrals from you, especially if it's somebody that you like and know, and you can tell us a little bit about the personality, and then we're going to serve them at the highest level, and everybody wins, right?
Yeah, I love that. I hope I haven't said this on a previous episode, so audience, please forgive me if I have. But I was just thinking about this the other day, and what's so cool about what realtors do, and I never had really thought of it this way before, but you really just touched on it, just about relationships, is like this famous Harvard happiness study, which started in I believe the 1920s. They studied men at that time, just men, and now they study men and women. It's been going on for 100 plus years, and they follow them all throughout their lives, and are consistently reaching out to them, getting their levels of happiness, what's going on in their lives, and trying to figure out what are the characteristics that makes a good life, what makes people happy, and
Right.
anyway, they boiled it down to, it's pretty simple. We would probably all know this intuitively, but it's nice to hear like the data on it. It's relationships. It's the relationships we have. It's the most important factor to happiness. It's the relationships we have with other people. They have to be intimate and vulnerable, and and mean something. Okay, so that could be
Right.
family, it could be, but it doesn't just have to be family. Obviously, there's
Right.
friends. And what I think is so cool about realtors is they're in a unique position. And I'm not a practicing realtor, so maybe this just didn't really occur to me till recently, was that it's one of the only sort of service jobs where you get to get pretty intimate and vulnerable with somebody. I mean, they're making this
Yep.
huge financial purchase, which is always stressful. There's always something that goes wrong with the transaction. There's always, hiccups and emotions to deal with. And it's just
Right.
there's just the whole emotional roller coaster people go through.
Yes.
But you get to develop these really intense relationships. And I thought, isn't that cool? Because I've interviewed people for 8 years on this show. They all talk about the relationships as being like the most like rewarding part of it.
Yes.
And it just occurred to me like, oh yeah, that's what Harvard said. And like, how cool is that? That is your job. And I know it doesn't
Yes.
mean you don't deal with everything else too, but like
Right. Right.
reward is the
It's
relationship, and it makes you happy.
Yes. It does. So, like this week, we actually had clients that we helped. They relocated to the island. They were here for like a year, and then they're like, "Okay, we want to buy." Right? They got their business up and running. And the other day, this week, they actually texted over a picture of the bottle of champagne we gave them for closing, and they said, "Hey, guess what? We paid off our mortgage in 3 years." and this is our celebration. And we held on to the bottle of champagne you got us for our closing gift so we could celebrate, because this was the plan. And they're like, now we're going to be ready for our investment really soon. So just wanted to share the good news and all of that.
Wow.
I was so excited. So like our kids have met this couple, and so I was like showing the kids, and I'm like, look how exciting this is. Like, this is going to be you one day, right? Like popping a
Yeah.
bottle of champagne and being like, I paid off my house. It's exciting.
I love it. So you're not buying leads. Your business is coming from your existing sphere. So in the and I know this, you might not know this off the top of your head, but just generally speaking, the last 10
Mhm.
transactions you closed, how
Mhm.
many were repeat clients? How many were referrals? How many were sphere? Like, what's the general breakup of like the next 10 or the previous 10 transactions?
So I would say two were sphere. And then Austin has a big sphere here, right? Because he grew up here. He went to Kamehameha schools that you have to be Native Hawaiian to get into. So he's got a great sphere. We probably had, off the top of my head, I want to say 4 or 5 of those were referrals. And now we're getting, yeah. And then we have a couple, like we have a bigger online presence. So we will have people reach out from Instagram, YouTube, that kind of thing. And now the AIs are recommending us. So we got 2 calls last week, and I was like, hey, how'd you get our number? And they're like, Claude. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great.
Isn't
Happy
that
to help.
crazy? I just did this for, it's funny. I just did the last week for, I use Claude as well. And I said, hey, take a look at our recruiting, because I recruit realtors for our company.
Okay.
So I started saying, hey, from a recruiting perspective, how does our SEO stand up? In particular, how does it stand up to AI? Like, are we getting mentioned in AI searches? And it said, yeah, you actually are, but there's a few, you know, holes that we can fill. And it was
Yeah.
things like, so our firm, we're an independent brokerage, and
Hmm.
obviously all of the major brokerages are here in Chicago as well. And it was like,
Right.
it never occurred to me to do that thing where you see this on a lot of software companies websites when you're like comparing like a CRM, for example, or any type of
Uh-huh.
software. If you look and you're like, well, it's down between these two CRMs. And if you type something versus something, usually those companies have their own, like them versus they have their own pages
Right.
for. So I said, of course we would want that. And
Right.
so and AI built all of that for me, which is now it's like Kale versus Kale's our company, Kale versus
Okay.
Coldwell Banker. And it's not like Kale always wins. It's not like Kale's the
Right.
best for everything, because we're not.
Yeah.
And
Right.
what's cool is, so I'm starting to do that. And I called one of my friends who is a big Compass team. He has a huge Compass team. And I said, hey, Ben, you should do, because he has like 5 other big teams that he competes with and in Chicago. And I said, you should do like you versus team A and team B and and he goes, already did it. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. So,
He's
so
done.
I love that. So for anyone listening, go in and think about who if you're in a particular niche and there's other people, it doesn't mean you're trying to show that you're better than someone, but that how you're
Yeah.
different. And
Yep.
and you guys are very different. Okay, I want to ask you this.
Mhm.
So I've interviewed hundreds of agents, and almost every one of them, when business gets soft, they run to
Mhm.
like a new lead source. But you've
Mhm.
done the opposite, which I love. When
Yes.
things slow down for you guys, what do you do?
We are reaching out to our sphere, our past clients, and we're like, hey, obviously part of it is we just want to keep relationships, right?
Sure.
Second part is like just being upfront, right? Hey, we're trying to meet a goal. This is what we have going. We were great with you. Do you know of anybody that's looking to buy or sell? If you hear anybody talking about it, can you start a 3-way text with us? We'd love to jump in and help wherever we can. We're going to provide value, so it's not like we're
And
over
they already
promising,
know
and
you.
they
They
already
already know you
know.
provide value. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it just feels a little bit more, organic and like truthful, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, business is slow. If you know anybody that we could benefit from using us, or even just have a conversation to start and see if now is the right time for them to buy or sell, or should you wait? Because that's part of our strategy too, right? If it's a crappy time for you to sell, we're going to let you know that this is not the best time for you. If this is your goal, you're not going to achieve it at this particular moment. If we go this route or we maybe wait a little bit, we can get you to your goal. But either we got to be flexible on the goal or we're going to set very realistic expectations for you, because our biggest thing is like, we're not going to promise you the moon and then under deliver. And sometimes, it's not the best time. And I think our clients have really, and friends Spear have really come to like appreciate that of, I'm not going to just give you flowers because I'm a nice person, right? Like I'm going to tell you the truth. And that's part of how my husband and I run the business and part of what we're known for.
I think I want to go back to the first part of what you said, which was this real brutal, honest ask. And you've already built this relationship with, your sphere, or maybe it's a past client or both.
Mhm.
And you're like, hey, if you hear anybody talking about moving, please, introduce me.
Yeah.
And that is such an honest thing to do, and it's not easy. I think that takes some courage. But I was
Yeah.
thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking, nobody ever asks me, the service people in my life, like my dentist, who's like the greatest dentist ever. He's like legitimately the guy, and
Yeah.
and it's not that he doesn't need more business. I'm sure he does. I mean, he's very successful, but who doesn't need more
Right.
business? And
Yeah.
you can always turn it down, I guess. But he's, and I've been with him 15 years, and he could just he knows I really appreciate him. He could say like,
Mhm.
"Hey DJ, if anyone ever asks you who's your dentist, would you make sure to say you should really talk?" Anyway, so
Yeah.
or my hairstylist, like she could just say,
Yeah.
"Hey, if anyone ever compliments your hair, would you please tell them about?" And it's funny, most people aren't. That's a very difficult thing for some people to ask for,
Yeah.
but it's like absolutely what we should ask for if we did a good job, and you did, and why not? And people want to help you
Right.
anyway. So I appreciate that you were
Yeah.
super upfront about that, and I love that, and it's absolutely okay to ask for things when you're good. Like it's
Yes.
just Okay, I want to
Yeah.
switch gears. Well,
Okay.
let's talk about the VA niche because
Mhm.
this is so cool. I don't talk to too many agents who do VA stuff. So
Okay.
most agents who I think when they think about working with military buyers, or even the ones
Mhm.
that do work with military buyers, they really treat them, I want to say, maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but transactional kind of comes to mind, where it's like
Yeah.
PCS in, buy, PCS out, done. But you've
Yeah.
made it part of your business. And
Yes.
what do most agents on the mainland, or even maybe agents in Oahu, what do they
Mhm.
get wrong about working with military families?
They don't understand how hard it is to be a military family. So I was a military spouse for 15 years. PCS, I had the kids. I would start, a job. I had to end the job and move. And there's so much stress that these families go through. And so when you look at, their financials, they can make so much money with using the real estate everywhere they go. If the numbers were turning into rentals, if it doesn't, turn it into sales, whatever they need to do, right? So understanding the mindset of they don't need necessarily like the hand holding, right? Of like going through and explaining everything, but they do need to understand the community that they're moving into. They need to understand the school options, the sport options, the lifestyle, and understanding like, especially on this island, right? Like there's different pockets that are very much for different lifestyles, right? Whether it's surfing or it's hiking or you're school focused. So you've got to understand the mentality of them that are coming in, how much stress they're under. Can I offer them a packet that has the information for quarantine for their dogs? Because if they don't get stuff going 2 to 3 months early, the dog
Right.
is not coming on time. And then you're going to pay thousands of dollars more to have him held on the mainland until he passes his FAVN to get him here, right? So it's like, as soon as we have that initial conversation, do you have animals? Yes. Here's all the information. Follow these steps. It'll be super simple. Here's your resources. You need TLA, you need hotel when you get here. Here's the options for you. Which one do you want to go with? Right. And explaining like we had a huge water spill here on Oahu. And some people come in and they're like, I just want to live on a military base. And I'm like, that's great. Do you know about the Red Hill jet fuel issue? No? Okay. If you want to live on base, I'm not telling you you have to buy a house, but if you're going to live on base, please don't live on this, or this, because they've the water has been poisoned and we don't know what's what with it, right? So I want to keep your family safe. And then, even the people that are like, I want to live on base, then they're like, thank you for sharing that, right? Thank you for being valuable, instead of just being like, you have to buy a house because X happened. Because I'm not a pushy person. I'll show you all of the value, all of the reasons why. And then at the end of the day, it's always the client's, decision. I'm going to buy, we're going to go townhouse, we're going to go single family. I am going to live on base. Whatever you want to do, we're going to give you all the resources, help you come to a decision that makes sense for you and your family and your ultimate goals. And then you'll learn a little bit in the process, no matter whether you decide to go with us or not.
That is such a smart idea and so valuable to people who are making that transition, because you're right. They probably, unless they're well researched themselves, and there's probably things they missed anyway. You know all of the steps, you know what's required, and all of just what you need to do to get ready. And the idea of putting that together in a packet, it must just save them so much energy and emotional toil. And
Yes.
it's brilliant. It's like it's funny. It's like
Yeah.
we talk about doing that with content a lot. It's like, when people are shooting video content where a lot
Hmm.
of it's just, look at how cool this house is. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. That's all great stuff too.
Right. Yeah.
Listing videos are great. And home tours and all that. But what's really great is hey, if you want to live in this neighborhood, here's what you need to know kind of stuff. And
Yes.
that's what you're talking about doing,
Hmm.
although on a sort of maybe a more macro scale, but also all the way down to micro, like all the way down to the neighborhoods. And you guys create content around that too. And
Hmm.
it's really, really smart. You're thinking, how do I provide value first? And
Yep.
then, that obviously is the best way to anyone's heart, I think. And
Yep.
and then, the transaction comes just naturally after that. So
Yep.
it's really smart. I love
And
that.
then, like with our experience with purchasing that first house sight unseen, there was no videos. We only saw the pictures that were on Zillow, right? So, with Austin and I, we go out, and if it's somebody that's relocating, they're military, we're going to get in the property and we do two different videos. So, the first one is going to be like, you enter the house, to the right, you have a bedroom, down the hall, you have kitchen, living room, whatever, right? We show kind of that general layout, point out the big features, and it's like just a regular walkthrough. The second one, we're like, look, you've probably got oversized furniture coming in from the mainland. Either you need to get rid of that over there, or you need to look at a different house. First bedroom, we're looking at 9.5 by 10 feet. Second bedroom, here's the size. We're going to open up these cabinets. We're going to look for water damage. We're going to look for termites. We're going to be like your mini inspectors, with that caveat of like, we're not licensed, but we can see what we can see, right? And
Yeah.
if the house looks like it's just nuts and there's issues and it stinks and whatever, we put all of that in the video. And then we're like, you may not want to buy this one. Let's go look for another one, right? So nobody ever comes in that's relocating and is like, oh, the house doesn't look anything like what I thought it was. Like, no,
Right.
you have very detailed information, which makes people so much more comfortable in knowing, what they're getting.
Awesome. Wow. I love that. I don't know. And look, maybe some of my other guests have done those kind of things for people that are buying, maybe sight unseen. But I love that you went really specific with that. What a great value. Okay, so Hawaii has the highest rate of multi-generational households in the country.
Yes.
It's something
Mhm.
like over 10%. I think it's like 11% or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
huge. You've mentioned the multi-generational living and
Mhm.
Ohana setups as a big part of how you help local families stay in Hawaii. So
Yes.
what does the actual conversation with a multi-generational buyer look like? And what are agents on the mainland missing about how to help families pool resources to buy a home?
So on the mainland, there's such a stigma, right? Like as soon as you turn 18 or you graduate college, like you got to be out of the house. You're not what we call like cooing together to get to your goals, right? So in Hawaii, our average single family home is over $1 million to purchase. Which, if you don't have things like the VA benefit and COLA and all of this, regular people, it can be really difficult, right? So families will talk together, and obviously, you guys got to like each other to be able to make this does happen, right? But the question is, do you need separate spaces? Do you need separate entrances? Are you all just going to share all of the spaces? What's important to how you're going to live together? And have you talked about this, right? So sometimes we have families that's like, I want an ADU that's separate from the main house. And either the aging parents are going to live there, or maybe it's a young couple that are going to start their life in the ADU. We have other families that are like, hey, we love to cook together. We love to have dinner together and sit on the couch, right? So big common areas are going to be important, but we want, some of the bedrooms separated, or we want to have a different entrance to come in. So we're not waking mom and dad up if, we're out with the kids 11, 12 o'clock at night doing something else. So it's really kind of honing in on everybody's specific situation. How do you want to live together? What does that look like? What is the minimum square footage you can have for something like this? And then we go over, pros and cons. Have you talked about how you're going to share electricity and water and the title, right? All of this is really important. So we don't want to get like way down the road and we're already looking at houses and all of this before we have those conversations. So as soon as it starts, we're like, what does your ideal situation look like for you? Who is going to have the majority stake in the house? And then we get them with our lender, and he pulls, everybody's resources together, explains how all of this works, debt to income ratio. Sometimes we take one person off and we have a different person on that we thought was going to start it, to make everything work. So it's very customized situation, lifestyle, needs and wants.
Wow. And I imagine once it's all the transaction's completed, now you probably have a family that's friends for life in a lot of cases, I'm
Yes,
guessing.
that's
You probably
exactly
go to
it.
a lot of events is what I'm guessing. A lot of birthdays, marriages, graduations, things like that.
We are busy, which is great.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. You've also brought up seller credits as something to talk about. And I love this because
Yes.
nobody ever talks about this. So in a high rate market, a lot of agents have heard of credits, but don't actually know how to deploy them. So how are
Okay.
you using seller credits right now to get deals to the closing table?
So we have two different strategies, and it really matters if you are VA or if you're conventional or FHA, something of that nature. So say you're VA, right? A lot of people don't know with the seller credits, you can pay off your car, you can pay off your credit cards, you can pay off any consumer debt you have via the seller credits. So what we will do, Austin and I will look for a house that maybe is listed just a little bit below. It's not in perfect condition, something like that. But the appraisal value we can still get here, right? So we'll ask, say, I can give you a specific example. We had a family that was military. They PCSed in. They had too high car payments and they had credit card debt, right? And they're like, they only wanted a single family $1 million house. And they're like, we can't afford the monthly. So what we did was we went a little bit higher than the list price, but we asked for like $60,000 in seller credit, which then brought the net of the house was like we were asking for $40,000 under where it was listed. Again, house had been on the market for a long time. Interest rates are high. We got it and got them all of that credit. So then our lender took 2 car payments, gone. Their credit card payment, gone. Everything's rolled into just the house. And then they're like, okay, we have 1 payment with no debt. We're good to go now. And then we still
Wow.
had enough in there to lower their interest rate little bit on that as well. And they didn't pay any closing cost.
I
So I
didn't
was
even know
like,
that was possible. Like
yeah,
that's how that's amazing. Well, oh, so cool. I
yep.
love that.
And then conventional, we just take it and we purchase down the interest rate. We have a couple different solutions. Do we do a 2-year buy down where you get 2% off the first year, 1% off? That's what a lot of people do. There's also ARM programs now. So like we got one client that bought a $2 million house. Their first year, they're at 3.75. It won't ever go
Wow.
up above 875. And they can refinance, by the time we get to that spot. So
I love that. I wish I would have gotten a buy down on my current one. I had to give up my 3% for I'm at 6. I look, 6.5% is nothing to complain about.
Right.
But no, the buy down wouldn't have made sense in my situation. But oh, they're so cool. I love them.
They are.
Yeah, I got credits in other ways, which made sense. But
That,
okay. So you and Austin, you run this team
mhm.
together, husband and wife,
Yes.
3 kids, you have a real
Yep.
business. Now, most couples I've had on the show say working together is either the best or the worst part of their lives. So what does the actual division of labor look like? Like who owns what, meaning like, tasks, like who doesn't touch certain things? And just curious of like how you guys delegate labor and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, when we first started together 3 years ago, with him, he quit teaching and joined the real estate full time. We had to kind of figure that out, right? So we had some bumps in the road, and really trying to hone in on what's what. I love contracts and negotiations; like that is my jam. So he doesn't touch contracts and that kind of thing. On the social media side, I cannot edit a video to save my life. Absolutely not. Like, I'll send him stuff and I'll be like, I love the way this looks. I don't know how to do it. And then he'll look at it and be like, okay, this is where we're going to film it. This is how we're going to do it. Here's your script. You say this. He films it. He gets it on all of the YouTube and Facebook and all of that. I have no idea how to do any of that. So that's a big thing that he does. Buyer consults and seller consults, depending on the situation. Sometimes we do it together. Sometimes it'll just be one of us. Showings, if clients are on island, he handles most of that. And then I stay back and answer phones, follow up. And then while they're out, if there's a property that they're like, oh, we really like this one, I pull all the tax records, I pull the comps, and I have a video going over everything by time they're done with the showings. So then there's not that like, oh, I got to get home, I got to do all of this paperwork and figure out where we should be. When they get home, they've got the information, peruse it, because you've been out on showings all day. You might be tired. You might have to go home to your kids, get dinner, whatever. Here's your video. As soon as you watch it, call me. Let's go through the clarifying questions and get an offer written for you.
Oh, I love it. It's everyone's got their jobs. I love it.
Yeah.
I just recently got married, and my
Oh, congratulations.
thank you so much. And my wife, now wife, said because we had just moved into a place together, we hadn't lived together
Mhm.
beforehand, and when now all of a sudden we have this like much bigger place than either of us had previously, and we were just sort of doing the chores. She's an attorney. We have totally different industries, but we were doing chores just kind of ad hoc. Like if I'd see the dishes and I do them, if she saw the dishes, she'd do them. And finally,
Right.
we realized we do have to do a division of labor because she was really starting to feel that she was doing more than I was. And
Okay.
maybe that's true. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
think I was not measuring up, and she wasn't trying to be sort of a nag about it, but she was like, I don't know that this is really
Fair.
yeah. Well, and she knew that it wasn't intentional, but she said,
Right.
I think I just see more things than you, and it doesn't occur to you. So now we
Mhm.
do a division of labor. It's worked out really well. So now we have our jobs, we know what we're supposed
Yep.
to do, and we can be held accountable for that, and it's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah. So okay. Thank you for that. That's really helpful. So okay, if I want to go back to this database first business. So if one
Mhm.
of our listeners they're sitting in their car after this episode, they want to start building a database first business. Maybe they've, been pursuing other avenues for leads for years. And they're just
Mhm.
like, I know that it's sphere of influence, or I know it's my
Mhm.
database, my SOI. What would you say the first thing they should do is?
Call them. So we have a spreadsheet of all of our past clients, right? So, and we're the last year, maybe year and a half, we've really started trying to do like quarterly events with our sphere, right? Whether you can make it or not, it doesn't matter, but you're going to get invited because we want you to stay in our friend group or our ecosystem that we have built. So if we have a beach cleanup, if we know you from, our personal life, our business life, whatever, you're invited. I'm going to have a thing for my birthday at the beach, and we're just inviting everybody, right? Now, whoever comes, great. Whoever doesn't, like, they know that we were thinking about them, right? Like, we're keeping our eyes on you. We're keeping you in our minds. Like, we want to maintain those relationships. So that's a big part. Invite them to everything. Only a quarter of the people ever show up, right? Because
Sure.
everybody's got, you got work, you got kids, you got a life too, right? So it never turns into like, you have 400 people at one thing. But it's great to have 20 people come, and you get to have conversations, and you get to see how, you sold them a house 3 years ago and they had a baby that was in a carrier, and now we've got this toddler running around at our event. We're like, oh my gosh, like life is going, and you get to deepen those connections, learn about what's going on with them, stay front and center of their minds. So when they are having conversations and somebody at work's like, oh, I'm on Zillow looking at a house, you're like, oh, I have a great person for you to go talk to, because you didn't just treat them like a transaction.
Right. Oh, I love that. Call your sphere and
Oh, you're
have
here.
have fun social events where people
Yep.
can hang out and have fun. I couldn't. My wife and I joined a bowling league, in the last month, and we're not really bowlers in any real sense, but she goes, this will be really fun. And what it is it's a competitive league. People, they take it seriously, but nobody cares. Like you
Okay.
care about
Yeah.
your own performance because you want to do well, but
Right.
you don't. People aren't getting mad if they throw a gutter ball.
Yeah.
Certainly, your team members are not criticizing anything you're doing. And what I've learned is in this particular bowling thing is people, they're serious about it, but they just are there to have fun and socialize. And it's
Yeah.
so much fun. I didn't know this about, bowling leagues. And I always thought, oh, it's got to be really serious. It's probably like, because like
Hmm.
some sports are that way. And
Yeah.
I mean, bowling, maybe, I don't know if it's a sport or not, but regardless, it is so much fun. And we now go, and it's not even about the performance of how I do. I mean, I do however I do,
Right.
but it's just, I get to see these people. It's fun.
Yeah.
Everybody's laughing. We celebrate even when somebody throws a gutter ball, and like it's all these social aspects of it. And you're talking
Yep.
about doing the same thing with your clients. I
Yeah.
do want to ask one specific question about
Okay.
calling, because sometimes agents will say, I don't know what to say. Right.
Mhm.
So, and you talked about, yes, sometimes maybe you'll call and say, hey, if you ever hear of anybody, please pass along to me.
Mhm.
But outside of that, what else might you be calling somebody about?
So in the first couple of years, we always call about tax exemptions, right? So in Oahu, there's a form that you fill out, and you get, depending on your age, 120 or $160,000 off your tax exemption. So towards that time of year, I'll go on the MLS and I'm like, da da da, this address, it's not showing. Hey, did you fill out that form I gave you the day after you closed? No? Oh, would you want to do that and save yourself some money? You have until X deadline. Oh my gosh, you're going to save me money. Thank you so much. Yes.
Right.
How's the family? How's the kids? You start a conversation.
Sure. Yeah, that's it. You
Um,
you lead with value. You lead with
yeah.
something they need, or something that's. Oh, I love. There's a woman in the western suburbs here in Chicago, and she calls her sphere every day. She's been doing it 20 years. She's a top producer, no surprise. And she has just a list of questions, and some of them are she could use anytime. So this is a really great one. I'll just throw it to you in the audience in case somebody hasn't heard this episode, but she'll call sometimes and say, hey, do you have a home project you haven't either finished or maybe haven't started yet? And everybody has one. So it's like such a brilliant
Right.
question. We all have
Yeah. I
one.
love
And she'll just go, well, tell me what it is, because I can, if you really want to get it done, I can help you get it done. She knows all the
Yeah. You got
vendors.
all the vendors.
Exactly. And I was like, that is a brilliant thing. Like nobody will ever say, nah, I'm good. My home's perfect. It's so
Right.
there's but that's like a really valuable reason to call somebody. And in your case, yeah, you're
Yeah.
just in the example you gave, saving money. So there's another one, but you're right. There's always things to call about.
Yeah.
And, or just how's life? How are things going?
Yeah.
You really just get into anything. So
How
I
are the
love that. Thank you.
kids? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry. One other thing that we do as well, we have so many clients that have businesses. So every time we see them post about their business, we send it back out to the algorithm. We
Yep.
repost it. Here, support this person's business. We know that they're great. We know that, just go support them. And then they see that and they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." And then they do that with our content. We're like, "Thank you." Right? So it's just
Yeah.
like pass that value add, and we see you, we're paying attention to what you're doing, and we want to support you wherever we can as well.
Yeah, I love that. Helping, in particular, small businesses need that more than anyone. And, we work in these local communities and we want to be part of the community, and part of the community is supporting the other businesses. I love that. That's great. Okay. You are big into AI and I love this. So you talk about
Yes.
leveraging AI in your business. So I want to get just a little specific. What are
Mhm.
you actually using AI for in a given week? Like, what are some of the things you use AI to do?
In a given week, I have AI. I have trained now to run CMAs and create presentations based off of how I want it done. So it took a lot of prompting, right, to get the font sizes and this, that, and the other. But now, when I go to compare a property, I grab the five MLS numbers for what I like. I just input it into a space on my AI, and it shoots me out a beautiful presentation that I can then deliver to the sellers. So that's one way that we use it constantly, giving us scripts and hooks for our videos, our captions. We use all of that. I have AI help me with our email. Austin uses AI for our SEO and GEO, our CRM. So we don't ever go a day without using it, and to the point where at 7 p.m. our AI sends us a daily briefing. Here's your calendar for tomorrow. This is what you need to do. These are your actionable leads that you either didn't call or you have a follow-up on the schedule for tomorrow. And here is your top real estate news. We have one that's local and then one that's national. So we're like, yeah, so that's how we end our
I
day.
I love that. Just out of curiosity, because
Mhm,
I like to build things in Claude. I don't know
mhm,
which AI system you're using, but for the daily briefing,
mhm.
and you don't have to get too into the weeds, but how do you
Yeah.
set that up where it's automatically sending that to you? Do you have an idea of how that's actually happening?
So I used Perplexity's computer,
Oh,
and
Perplexity. Okay, gotcha.
and then I told it exactly what I wanted. And, we had a little trial and error because at the first it was sending me like, "Here's your things for today." And I was like, "It's 7 p.m. I don't want you to do that." Right. So I had to go back in and I'm like, "How do I adjust the prompt to make it do exactly what I want?" So I gave it like the sources for where I wanted the news pulled. I didn't want it from other agents. I wanted it from top sources so I can really stay up to date on exactly what's going on. So I built it with, these are the top five things that I want. I want it at 7 p.m. every day. It just sends me the email with exactly what I've asked.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I need to set that up. So I was asking really selfishly for myself. Thank you for that. Okay, last question, and this is I
Mhm,
love this question, and it's always a fun one to ask a top producer. So if you woke up tomorrow with the same
mhm,
skills you have now, your
mhm,
VA expertise, your relationships with Austin and your team, but no clients, zero past clients, zero
mhm.
sphere, starting completely from scratch, in other words, we picked you and your husband up, we plopped you and your kids and we plopped you guys in a another another state, and
Mhm,
you didn't have anyone from the past, but you knew everything that you know today. um,
mhm.
what would you do the first 3 days? Just, I would love to hear what would occur to you to do.
I would go join a gym. I would see what sports are available. I would go introduce myself to the neighbors, bake muffins or cookies or something, and say, "Hey, I'm new to the neighborhood. My husband and I, this is what we do. What do you do?" And just try to get that relationship building off the start. And then use AI to train the models that we have moved and start referring people to us, and let our sphere know that we're now in a different location. If they know anybody in that area, please send them our way. And then build relationships with the other agents. Like, that's so many people think that all of the other agents are their competition.
Right.
And it's just simply not true, right? Like, there are some that are just the bulldogs, they'll steal everybody out from underneath you. But you have other agents that are like, "I don't want to work with buyers. If you want to work with the buyers, I'll pay you half the commission, whatever, 75%. I just don't want to do it. Great. Give us all your buyers. We love buyers. That's not a problem, right? And then with different networks and that kind of thing, like just reach out, let everybody know where you are, how you can be of service, and it just works, and it's helpful to everybody.
And you would probably start making video content, is my guess as well.
Yes, instantly.
So
Yeah,
tell me what would be your first video?
We're moving to, I'm going to say Tennessee because that's where I'm from originally.
Yeah.
Moving back to Tennessee, or moving to East Tennessee, which I think is beautiful, right? This is going to be our journey, and that's going to go YouTube. We're going to do shorts. We're going to do the funny content.
I love that.
So like this week, Austin's got a classmate that she's selling her house, right? So we went and looked at the house, and I was like, oh, what could be funny? So I like hopped in the bathtub. I'm, in my nice dress and whatever. And I'm like sitting in the bathtub, like, hey, I like to soak and I'd like to read a book in here. Like, this is a selling feature of the house, right? So it's finding those things that you don't always have to be prim and proper, like super professional, because people are like, I don't know, you're more of a robot, right? Like, be a real person. This is the highs, this is the lows. Life is not perfect, right? And put that content out in a meaningful way where maybe you are showing value. If you're relocating to Tennessee, this is the journey that it looks like.
You know what that, by the way, unbelievable answers. I hope everyone wrote some of that down, because you guys could start doing this immediately, and that's all just perfect advice. I'm as far as showing the highs and lows on video, just to sort of go down a path for a moment. I'm waiting for, and I'm sure there's realtors that do this, and I just haven't seen it yet, but I'm waiting for the video of the realtor sitting in the car after a listing presentation going, I didn't get the listing, and saying, I'm really upset. I'm sad. I thought I did a good job. Not complaining, not saying, oh, woe is me.
Yeah.
But being honest and truthful and saying, gosh, this is something that didn't go well for me today, and I've got to sit with this, and it doesn't feel great. I'll get the next one or whatever. But it's like, you talk about showing the lows, it's like, people relate to that. People know what that feels like, whether they're a realtor or not. We all know that feeling. And we don't always know, when we see the, hey, I just sold the $3 million home, most people are like, I have no idea how to relate to that. They know how to relate to the, my kids are yelling at me today. I just lost this deal. Whatever. I couldn't get myself to get to the gym. I just, and all the things, the disappointments, and it's like, we're so afraid to share those. And I get why. I understand. It's like, nobody wants to, and maybe you shouldn't share everything. I understand that too. But I do think there's something you talked about looking and being professional and perfect. It's like, well, okay, fine. But people relate to imperfection way more than perfection, right?
Right.
So I love that.
And that's why, we just try to meet people, where they are. Cause sometimes if we meet clients and they're like so down to earth, and they're like, they just go to the showings and they're wearing their sweatpants and their, little t-shirt and their sandals or slippers and whatever. And then we're showing up high, what we would call high maca here, dressed to the nines. That doesn't feel like, whatever. So we're like, okay, if you're more lax, that means we get to be a little bit more lax. Not saying I'm going to show up in my gym clothes, but just be authentic and meet people where they are.
I love that. Okay, it's homework time for everyone listening or watching. I want you to do this before our next episode. So really simple, it's easy. It'll take you 5 minutes, and it will be really helpful and beneficial. Open up your phone, scroll your contacts, pick 5 past clients you have not spoken to in the last 6 months. Send each one a personal text, not a market update, not a forwarded link, just a real human check-in. 5 texts, not next month, this week, and let me know how it goes. This is something Kristy would do, so you should do that as well, because she and her husband are really, really good at what they do, and she was kind enough to share basically everything that they do with all of you. So on behalf of our audience, Kristy, thank you so much. You and Austin are amazing. I appreciate you and being so real. As you talked about being real, you're a very real person, and I appreciate that as well. And so on behalf of the audience, thank you. On behalf of Kristy and myself, thank you to the audience. We appreciate you. Please, everyone, check out our sponsors. The best way for you to help support the show, aside from checking out our sponsors, is by telling a friend. Think of one other realtor that needs to hear this conversation with Kristy and shoot them a link. We would appreciate it. And everyone, shoot out those texts to those people you haven't or lost touch with. It's okay to even apologize. I lost touch. I'm sorry. I'm back. It's okay. People love to hear from people who have drifted away if it's authentic. And Kristy, give your Instagram one more time, please.
Your Oahu Home Team.
And she does really cool content on YouTube as well. I will post a link to that. And we didn't even get to talk about that, but it is awesome. All right, Kristy. Oh, and by the way, last thing, don't hit pause just yet or hit stop, because Kristy's in Hawaii and lots of people buy homes in Hawaii who maybe that's not their first home or maybe it's their retirement home. And so if you are somebody who is feeding people into Hawaii, and by the way, same thing happens, especially with military, people feed in and out of Hawaii as well. Yes. If you want to start a relationship with Kristy, and seems like that would be a great place. She's on Oahu. Kristy, what's the best way another agent should reach out to you?
Just give me a call. All of my information is online. And 808-670-1548. I actually answer my phone.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? I just made a video this week, and I said, because I was recruiting an agent, or I was calling an agent that I was trying to recruit. And this is a mid-level agent. We're not talking about a top producer. And somebody, I don't remember how much production they were doing, but it was maybe one deal a month, maybe. And still, I'm thrilled to talk to that person. Yeah. I'm not trying to put that person down in any way. And I got the AI answer, the AI thing. And it was like, hey, tell me what you're calling about, and then I'll pass it over to so-and-so. And I was like, really? For the guy doing one transaction a month? And I thought, you know who doesn't do these things is top producers. They literally answer. So I had to make a video going, agents, if you're using AI to answer your phone, like, you better have a real good reason for that, because nobody wants that. Like, we love AI. Everybody loves AI, except for that. And top producers are like, no, I need to answer the phone. So I love that you just said that, because so many people are like, oh, I don't have to answer my phone anymore. I'm like, no, please answer your phone. And if it's 9 p.m., you probably need to answer it too. And you're a mom of 3, and I'm not saying you need to. I'm saying if you want to be a top producer, this idea of boundaries, yes, you need to have boundaries, and you're probably still going to be taking calls at 9 p.m. sometimes, and it sucks. And you got to get the family on board. It happens. But you know what? That's this business, and
exactly.
I love that. And you're always, what? Who never complains about this is moms of 3. They go, I'm working all the time anyway. Like, giving me another task is not a big deal, because I'm constantly, anyway, all right. We will see everybody on the next episode. Kristy, it was such a pleasure, and thanks so much.
Thank you.